Okay, I'm not going to do what you expect me to do here and just flip out. But let's be real, man. Chelsea were robbed. Let's get into it.
And blue is the colour. Essien! Drogba! Lampard! That could be
the championship! Greetings! Welcome back to Couch Critic with me, Dennis P, for what is another Chelsea match review, but more specifically what we normally get into is the tactics. But obviously with this Carabao Cup final against Liverpool, there are some of the dark arts at work here and we have to get into some of that. I don't normally like to cover that, but we have to in this match. You cannot ignore it. But before I get into all that, fellas, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're new, hit the bell notification button to keep up with the latest. And I want to let you guys know about my sponsor. They go by the name of Major League Socks, and you already know. Fellas, if you ever want to walk in the footsteps of greatness, hit them up. The link is in the description. Okay, so Chelsea played Liverpool in the Carabao Cup final in what was a fantastic match, a fantastic final. Both teams end to end, both teams taking turns in the ascendancy, and just a riveting game. Like from minute 1 to minute 120, we had a fantastic display of football. And unfortunately, it was Liverpool that ended up winning it in penalty kicks 11-10. But both teams should be commended for their performance on this day. In this match review, you're going to be focusing on three things, but unfortunately, we're not going to be able to focus specifically on the tactics alone. There are some other things at work that we really do need to speak on. We cannot ignore the refereeing decisions, VAR. We're also going to be looking at Chelsea's inability to capitalize on moments when they are in the ascendancy in the game. And basically, you know, that's been something that's been plaguing Chelsea from all year, and probably even before that, even last year, probably even. We're going to take a good look at that. And we're also going to look at Thomas Tuchel and Jurgen Klopp and what separates these two right now, because in my eyes, the only thing that separates the two of them is time, but we will get into that. Okay, fellas, as a Chelsea supporter, you guys would all know that like Chelsea don't like to win pretty. It's always a mucky affair. You know, they always like to stifle their opponents, make it hard for them to break them down. And then, you know, if the opportunity does arise, you know, we nick it here and there in a 1-0, 2-1 kind of game. But this was a completely different game altogether. I thought Chelsea went toe-to-toe with one of Europe's incredible teams. Like obviously goal scoring wise, Liverpool is right up there with the best of them, scoring 5s and 6s for fun. No other team in Europe is doing that currently, other than Man City, I guess. And we were right there with them, toe to toe, like making chances, just not taking them. And this is the problem that has been plaguing Chelsea for the last couple of years. This is the difference between us and the likes of Liverpool and City. The fact that we get into these incredible areas on the pitch, and whenever we're there, we just do not take these opportunities. Chelsea has spells when they're in the ascendancy in the match, when they're really taking the play to their opponent, you know, and you expect there to be a goal that comes out of it. And then, you know, for whatever reason, we get an opportunity and we miss it. And, you know, the energy of the game gets sucked out at that point. You know, the confidence in the team gets sucked out at that point. And then conversely, what happens is the opponent starts to gain confidence because, you know, they're seeing this as an opportunity now where Chelsea have missed 2, 3, 4 chances to put themselves ahead. And, you know, they haven't taken any of them. So now that gives them momentum and confidence. And this doesn't just happen in the big matches. This happens in a lot of the smaller games as well. You know, I harken back to that Burnley game where Chelsea were up 1-0 late and had a plethora of opportunities to kill off the game and just didn't take any of them. And then all of a sudden there's a sucker punch and Chelsea concede late and, you know, Burnley escapes with a point. You know, this is the type of thing that, again, young sides usually struggle with. We do have a young attack, obviously, with the Mason Mounts, Kai Havertz, Christian Pulisic, not exactly old, Werner. Obviously, Ziyech and Lukaku are obviously senior, you know, veterans in football, but neither of them were involved right from the start. And, you know, we relied on a very young, inexperienced attack. Obviously, these guys, you know, the likes of Havertz and Mount have played enormous games and produced some incredible moments as well. But, you know, I really do think that, like, we need to consistently see those types of performances from these guys. And we're just not getting it. You know, there's opportunities in this game where Chelsea should have been 2-0 up easy, you know, at the very least 2-0 up. And, you know, opportunities fall to Mason Mount. And, you know, I'm not going to, the first one, in the first half where he kind of like half volleyed it and missed the net. You know, you expect him to do better, a player of his quality, but, you know, that wasn't necessarily a bang on goal. Like, that was an opportunity where he probably should have tested the keeper and didn't. But the second opportunity in the second half where he's in alone on goal, and, you know, I guess the ball got, you know, trapped underneath his feet a little bit, but even still, just the composure there was just not on display. You know, that's an opportunity that you expect him to score, you know, 10 times out of 10, you know, 1v1 in the keeper, all sorts of space, nobody, you know, really contesting you. You expect him to score that. I mean, it's not just him. Obviously, Christian Pulisic had a gilt-edge opportunity first half where he should have just buried it, and, you know, we wouldn't be talking about the next portion of this video where we're talking about refereeing decisions, because, you know, we're up 2-0, we're feeling good about our football, we're inviting them on, and we're looking to hit them on the counter. And, you know, that's a completely different game at that point, but especially with the confidence of a goal, being up 1-0 in a cup final. But, you know, when we don't take these opportunities, like I said before, it just opens the door for teams to get back into the match and sucker punch. And as much as Liverpool didn't score in the 120 minutes, they did produce a boatload of opportunities where they should have. And if not for the heroics of our goaltender and my man of the match, Edouard Mendy, I don't know what would have what the outcome would have actually been. Obviously, Liverpool would have still been hoisting the trophy, but at the same time, you know, the match itself would have played out a lot differently as well. So, you know, we just have to be more clinical. We have to take moments when we're in the ascendancies to really hurt teams. It's not about just like, you know, the feel good, like the build up and like feeling good about our football. We have to take these opportunities, because that's what separates us from the European elite, the big teams in Europe. And this is what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for Chelsea to make that next step. Now, fellas, I don't care what team you support. I don't care how you feel about Chelsea Football Club. We as football supporters have to really acknowledge when, you know, situations go awry, as they have this past game against Liverpool. I mean, a decision like Trevor Chalobah getting, you know, studs into his balls, we can all relate to that. We know how, you know, that is a very, very dangerous situation. And whether it was on purpose or by accident, obviously he didn't try to, you know, get him in the groin area, but at the same time, that's still an endangering play, you know. And, you know, you look at what type of refereeing decisions we get consistently in the Premier League, and you just have to ask, what is going on? Like, what is going on? This is supposed to be the biggest league in the world, and they have the poorest collection of referees in the world. Like, you can find better referees in any other part of the world right now, and it's just unbelievable. You can have the benefit, it's just unbelievable that you can have the benefit of looking at a replay and still not get the decisions right. Like, what are we doing? What are we actually doing here? You know, the guy clearly endangered his opponent, studs into his groin, and you're telling me that that's not something that VAR looks at and says, whoa, maybe Atwell, maybe you should come over and take a look at this. This is pretty reckless on the point of Keita. And whether, like I said, whether or not it's intentional or not, that is endangering your opponent. You know, like, the guy got 6 stitches as a result of it, you know. So I don't know. I don't think that any of this stuff that we saw in this game have anything to do with, you know, a lot of people were saying this is a rallying cry because of the Ukrainian situation, which I'm in full support of, as I'm sure you guys know. I'm very much behind the Ukraine, and I want to see this thing resolved in the right way. But I don't think this has anything to do with that. I don't think that, you know, that was a rallying cry, but I don't think that has anything to do with it, you know. I really do believe that these referees have always been given these sorts of like terrible decisions against Chelsea. All sorts of them, you know, with the benefit of VAR or not. You know, we just don't get these calls. So this is just another one with a backdrop that is a little bit more severe and a little bit more, you know, obviously present day and clear. But ultimately, I don't think that changes anything. Like, we just don't get calls from these referees in these big matches. It's no wonder that Chelsea haven't won, you know, any of the last 4 cup finals that we've been in. But in Europe, where the standard of refereeing is completely different, like, and of another level, of another stratosphere, you see Chelsea go 4 for 4. I'm just at the point where I'm over it. Every time Chelsea have to win and they're playing in the the Premier League or in the English league in general, the EFL, it takes a Herculean effort. It's because you not only are playing your opponent, but you're also playing against the FA and the referees, and it's becoming comical. That's why Chelsea supporters always celebrate louder and longer than anybody else, because it takes so much to get these results. It's not about just beating your opponent anymore, It's to the point where you just know if there's any sort of 50-50 decision to be made, you almost automatically go to the opponent right now, because Chelsea's not going to get the benefit of the calls ever. It's crazy. This Lukaku situation, this offside situation. I mean, yeah, I'm not stupid. I have eyes. I have 4 eyes, as a matter of fact. So I can see exactly where the line is, where the line should be, and I can see where Lukaku was. I can see when the ball was released and whatnot. And all of that is just so arbitrary when they're making these VAR decisions. It's just like wherever they want to say that the ball was released, and whatever part of the body they want to use to say is offside is fine with them. And the decisions, as long as it's not going against one of the big clubs like the Man Cities, not that they're a big club, but in terms of how their stature in the league right now, and Liverpool and Man United, then everything is fine. You know what I mean? It makes it drives me crazy. They don't scrutinize when the ball's released as heavily as what they do to measure if his left elbow is a half an inch offside or something like that. It's crazy. And to be honest with you, when I looked at that situation as well, they use Van Dijk's foot to measure if he kept him onside versus Lukaku's elbow or whatever, his shoulder, the inside of his shoulder, when clearly, if you use the same criteria for Van Dijk, his shoulder is further forward than Lukaku's. But all of this is just arbitrary, because we don't even have, at Wembley, we don't even have the ability to really look at where the line actually is. They're giving us this crooked line and saying that this is onside and this is offside, and this is what decides cup finals. It's crazy. You have these boneheaded decisions that come every big game, you get a boneheaded decision by these referees, and it's just laughed off in the press. Nobody covers it, nobody really scrutinizes it the right way, and it's just forgotten. But had that been any of these other teams, and Chelsea had been on the receiving end, not that would ever happen, because Chelsea don't get those calls, but if that were ever the case, it would be all over the news. Why is this offside, or why is this onside? It's crazy, right? But because it's Chelsea, and because we're in the moment that we're in right now, we're just seeing everything, every moment, every decision go against us. And I'm at the point right now where I know that, as a Chelsea supporter, as a Chelsea, a diehard Chelsea supporter, this is just part and parcel with supporting this club. You just have to accept the fact that when you win, you have to win big. You can't just nick a result and hope that in the dying minutes of the game you can nick a goal, because they're just going to find a way to do you in. And they did that today, unfortunately, into another cup final, not too dissimilar from the other decisions that we've had in cup finals recently. But again, we move, man. I think that this is, again, if anything, has shown that Chelsea can bang with the big boys. It's just a matter of whether or not we can get enough of a result so that referees don't make an influence on it, or referees don't have an ability to influence the outcome. That's really where it is right now. Chelsea have enough quality right now to play at Europeans' elite levels. It's just whether or not we get the calls now. I cannot say enough good things about Thomas Tuchel. This guy, under the guise of the week that he's had, the months that he's had at this club, all sorts of turmoil surrounding this club, and right in the thick of another, controversial issue. How do you prepare for a cup final? Well, just ask him. He just goes about his work. He's very focused, and he understands, that you have to make it very quiet inside the club when there's lots of noise outside. And I thought he did a fantastic job. Again, when you look at the squad that Liverpool have assembled and how brilliant they've been the last 4 or 5 years, you have to say that Thomas Tuchel now is one of the geniuses in this game, because man, was he ever able to go to, like, throughout all 3 matches that we played Liverpool this year, we've gone toe-to-toe with them. The first game, clearly, Chelsea were in the ascendancy, up 1-0, and then, obviously Reece James gets sent off with the red card, changes the game. But even still, I still thought Chelsea had the ability to win the game. They had a couple opportunities in the second half where, had we had been more clinical, we probably would have taken them. And then we played them again at the Bridge, and again, lots of turmoil, lots of controversy around the club at the time with Lukaku and whatnot. And, Chelsea get rattled early and individual mistakes, and we're down 2-0, and then all of a sudden, club springs back to life, and it's 2-2. And on a different day, again, we could have won that game. We had the opportunities to win it. This game, no different. All sorts of opportunities. Thomas Tuchel tactically put Chelsea in the right mindset and went at this game the right way, and unfortunately just could not find the goal, But that's to no fault of his own. I thought the tactics were bang on, and this is the question I need to ask now. Like, how far, if at all, is Thomas Tuchel from the likes of Jurgen Klopp? How far are Chelsea from Liverpool right now? Not very far. Like, these games are basically decided on a knife's edge, and more often than not on a refereeing decision here and there. So this is a great position for Chelsea to be in right now, because with the way that Liverpool have been able to put teams to the sword the last few years, and the way that Thomas Tuchel has come in and in the last year and a bit basically transformed this Chelsea squad into a real European elite. I mean, the future holds well. We could look at like our record against Liverpool, and we can look at, the way we play Liverpool and how we, we're basically right there with them, and say that this is the hallmarks for a team that can go forward and build again and build again. You give Thomas Tuchel this amount of time that Jurgen Klopp has had, and I guarantee you he'll be adorned with more trophies than we can imagine, because he's just that good. I'm of the opinion that the only thing that separates the two of them right now is this time and investment in the club. If you give Thomas Tuchel 2 or 3 more years, I guarantee you will see a Chelsea squad that is to be feared by everybody in Europe. Whereas you've given Jurgen Klopp, 5, 6 years, 7, I don't even know how long he's been there, to be honest. But, he's obviously won them the European Cup. He's obviously won them the Premier League, and now this League Cup under lots of controversy and turmoil. But again, I can guarantee you, if Thomas Tuchel's given the exact same amount of time, we'll see twice as many trophies, because he's of that quality, So the difference between Thomas Tuchel and Klopp at this point in time for me is just time. You give him the same amount of time, and you will see results that are tenfold what Jurgen Klopp has delivered. But I do think I'm going to wrap it up there. Fellas, unfortunate. These referees, man, I tell you what, man. It just boils my blood, but at the same time, it just makes when we win that much more sweet. That's all we can take from it. We can't petition, the PGMOL or whatever it is. We can't petition the FA to review these decisions. How many times have they given us Anthony Taylor when we've had so many problems with him? Then they give us the worst ref in the division, one of the worst, just completely, void of any real brain. What's going on here? Really? I would love for somebody to studs you in your nuts, and you tell me that that's not an egregious foul or something that should be, punishable with a red card. They should just be able to demonstrate what happened to them to the referee, and then make them make the judgment based on that. Because I don't know if anyone could really, attest to having themselves, groined with studs in the nuts and think that wasn't dangerous play. But we move, Then we look at these lines of offside and whatnot. And anyways, I don't even want to go there, guys. You've already heard me rant about it before, and it's ridiculous. This is the standard of refereeing. This is the standard of VAR in the Premier League. It's a joke, and I'm putting it mildly by saying that. But, we went to penalty kicks, and, again, nothing separated these teams. 11-10 in penalty kicks. And the last effort is by Kepa, who I'm still looking at. I'm pretty sure the ball's still, orbiting somewhere. It was crazy, guys. Let's be honest here. That was unreal, the final penalty kick. But, I still rally around Kepa. He did well to get us here, and it's unfortunate that it came down to a final kick, and it was at his feet, because that's clearly something that he was not comfortable with. Looked more like a goal kick than like a penalty kick, to be honest. But we move. Guys, we got Luton in the FA Cup, and I expect to see a lot of rotation. Not only was that match very intense and obviously a lot of minutes played, 120 minutes, but obviously emotionally very draining. So might even see the debut of Kennedy. Who knows? Kennedy might get some minutes, you know. Harvey Vale, maybe Harvey Vale gets welcome back to the side. Not taking Luton lightly, but I do believe that like we've played a lot of football, and we need to just recharge the batteries before we get into the next phase of the Premier League and of course the Champions League. But you guys know what to do, man. Keep the blue flag flying high, and up the Chels. Peace.